What's up, guys? Welcome back to the JP and Trav show on the JP and Trav YouTube channel. As always, it's your host, the most JP. And to the right of me, I have my esteemed co-host, Travis J. Davidson. Travis, how are you feeling, man? Back from Cali. You feeling jet lag? What's going on?
Now I'm refreshed. Today was kind of my get your life back together day. Did laundry and cleaning and went for a nice long walk. Took care of some calls. Was on about a 2 hour call with our boy Captain 405. Talking through all kinds of stuff. So yeah, man, just excited to be back. Excited for the spring game tomorrow, and excited for our guest tonight, man.
Yeah, and our guest has been on here before. He's a good friend of the show. Again, somebody that I feel akin to because he has my first name, and it's spelled the correct way with no Y.
Yes, sir.
Jalen Ross. Jalen, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate you guys having me on tonight.
Of
Should be fun.
course, of course. Oh, it's always a good time, and man, what a better thing to start off with than the spring game. I mean, we got that thing locked and ready to go for this Saturday, 2:30 p.m. Central Time start. Obviously, before that, we know that we're going to have a Kyler Murray ceremony, which is pretty cool to see his Heisman statue go up in Heisman Park. And man, how unique is it that back to back spring games we have Heisman trophy winner back on campus and going up has to be huge for recruiting, which we'll get to here in a little bit. But yeah, let's just start with that, guys. What are your thoughts on Kyler being back at OU? And maybe give us some just good memories you had of that season that Kyler was donning the crimson and cream.
Go ahead, Jalen.
Kyler, I feel a bit of a connection to Kyler because, for those who don't know, Lee Morris is my cousin, and Kyler and Lee played together since high school. I want to say probably freshman year, sophomore year of high school, because Kyler transferred to Allen from another school in Texas. And I first saw Kyler play when I think it was Lee's senior year in 2014. They played against Keller Central. And for those who don't know anything about Allen High School football, which if you don't, that's a little surprising. But they were a winning machine at that time. I mean, they literally hadn't lost a game at that point. I knew nothing about the team. I just knew my cousin played for them, and we went to go watch them in the playoffs. And I see this little quarterback just doing everything. They put up like 60 something in that game. I want to say it was like the semifinals. They went to state that year. They won it.
Wow.
But I loved watching this quarterback, and I was wondering who he was. So at the time, I didn't know much about recruiting rankings and all that crap. So I just looked up who was Allen's quarterback, and I see it's Kyler Murray. He's got offers from all these schools. He's a 5-star recruit. He's this and that. I'm like, okay, I want him to go to OU. Because for those who don't remember, the 2014 year was not very good for OU. And it was like, yeah, I want this guy. Well, he goes to A&M, of course, and then he ends up transferring to Oklahoma. And I'll just say nothing that Kyler has done up to this point surprises me because he's always been that good. I mean, people would have that conversation like last year. I remember when Baker got his statue and everybody was like, well, why do people not bow down to Kyler Murray like this? Because Kyler's never needed it. Kyler's always been the guy. I mean, he was the Gatorade player of the year coming out of high school. Got into college. I think his first start at A&M, he put up, or in his limited starts at A&M, he he put up some nice numbers. Comes to Oklahoma, everybody's excited to see him. He comes in, he wins the Heisman. Like he's never really had to deal with the doubt that Baker Mayfield did. Now, granted, his height he did, but he never dealt with all the crap of having to walk on and all. That's a whole nother story. But uh, I think my favorite memory of Kyler Murray is probably, it's crazy because this is a game that we lost, but the Texas game where he had that run that put us back in the game. I don't remember how many yards it was, but actually doing a post on Instagram about his 5 best plays at OU, and it's in that list. Like, again, we lost the game, but that play kind of gave them some momentum. You think about the pass to Grant Calcaterra in the Big 12 championship, the run against West Virginia in his first start in 2017, the first snap of the game. He takes the ball like 60-something yards, almost scores. I mean, there's for the guy to only have played one full season as a starting quarterback and to do the things he did, you've got OU fans out here debating, was he better than Baker Mayfield from a talent standpoint? I might agree with that statement. I don't know. But I mean, I am slightly biased, like I said, because I've watched Kyler play longer. But it's exciting, though. It's exciting to see him back. I mean, it's still kind of crazy to think that he was at Oklahoma because, like I said, this is a guy I've watched since high school. So it's fun to see. I mean, this guy's arguably the greatest player to ever come out of the state of Texas. Like, that's an argument that people can have all day. But no, it's fun. I mean, in regards to the statue, I heard he wanted the statue to be I don't know if y'all remember the touchdown he had against UCLA where he skipped in the end zone and had the ball in the air. He wanted it to be that. It's not going to be that, but that's what he wanted. So, but yeah, man, it's going to be great. I mean, he'll have that. I'm pretty sure he'll probably, I don't know this for sure, but like he should have a statue in Allen, Texas at some point. I mean, I just hope that for him professionally, that he can kind of find his stride again. And I know he had surgery this past off season. So hopefully he can find his stride again, get back going and show people who he really is because his talent really, I mean, we haven't seen much like that out of a quarterback. A guy who can just do it. His arm off the charts, his speed off the charts. So no, it'll be great to see him back. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things about Kyler, it's not a specific play. I'll get into that in a minute, but there are, LeBron was kind of the first real like chosen one prodigy that we've come across that's like, man, this dude backed it up, right? Like this guy is, in my opinion, the second greatest player ever to do it, but that's an argument for another day.
Right.
He's top two. Most everybody will agree he's top five. So most people, he's top two. But the thing was, he had so much pressure coming out of high school as the chosen one and whatnot. Honestly, Kyler did too, man. I mean, Kyler had succeeded at a level that nobody had seen at Texas football before. I mean, he was Gatorade Player of the Year, junior year and senior year, I think. I mean, the dude was an absolute monster. I was talking to Mike Hawkins Sr. In Austin, and we were just talking about Mike Jr.'s athleticism, and something was like, man, he's got great speed, this, that, and the other. And I was like, yeah, not the first one to come out, Allen. And both of us kind of looked at each other. We're like, I mean, nobody's Kyler Murray. Like, it's even like, I mean, Hawkins played in the NFL. He's been around crazy athletes. Obviously, his kids are crazy athletes and everything like that. And it's just understood around the area that there's never going to be another Kyler Murray. And that's, I think, something we need to continue. That's like when people compare anybody to Adrian Peterson, when anybody compares anybody to Kyler, like, it's just, you can't do it because there's just not going to be another one of those. So one of the things that, so he was able to be that high school prodigy that ended up being a Heisman winner and a first round pick. And I think one of the things that people don't talk about with Kyler's legacy, I think Kyler's a big reason why we were able to land Michael Hawkins Jr. and Kevin Sperry after Jackson Arnold, because Kyler showed that one good starting season at OU, you can go to the NFL. You can be a first-round pick. You can be the top pick. And that's the thing, is everybody's saying, oh, man, with, Jackson there, which one's going to transfer? Is it going to be Sperry or is it going to be Hawkins? This, that, and the other. And again, I'm not comparing those two to Kyler because obviously Kyler is special. But he laid the blueprint of, hey, man, if you come and ball out for 1 year, then it's possible to do it because OU's on such a big stage. You're going to have talent around you that the offensive line's going to keep you upright. The wide receiver core, the tight ends, like everybody's going to be there for you. So you can just have 1 year starting and still make it to the league. So I think that impact that Kyler had at Oklahoma is really, really understated. With that being said, if I had to pick a favorite play, if it's specifically college, as weird as it sounds, it's the bomb off the wrong foot to Charleston Rambo, because because even though we lost the game and it created ridiculous Charleston Rambo hype, Todd McShay the next year in the way too early mock draft had Charleston Rambo as a first rounder. So like it created crazy hype. And obviously he ends up in Miami, this, that, and the other. But it's so wild because so many people, if you ask about Kyler, they're like, yeah, he's so fast. He's so fast. If you ask 100 people, man, what do you think about Kyler? 99 of them are going to say he's so fast. But what I like about that play in particular was that dude threw off the wrong foot and dropped it in a bucket. I mean, threw it 50, 55, 60 yards, just right in the air, dropped it in a bucket to Charleston Rambo off the wrong foot. That's where you have to look at it and be like, oh, this isn't Anthony Richardson. This isn't just an athlete that we hope can be, that can translate into a quarterback, can develop or this, that, or the other. It's not that. This is, this dude, you can't tackle him in a phone booth, and he can drop 60-yard dimes to guys that are running full speed while he's off the wrong foot, while he's got pressure coming from behind him. That was when I was like, okay, we have to talk about this guy's arm more. So those are my memories. One, something he did for the university. The other one, something that I think is very underappreciated by.
Well, I'll say this real quick. I know the point you mentioned about talking to Mike Sr. is funny because I remember talking to my cousin, not Lee, another one of my cousins. We were at the OU Texas game. We were in Allen actually after the OU Texas game, and we're just sitting around talking. They're asking me a bunch of questions, and they asked me about who are we looking at for quarterback in 2024, and I'm like, well, they're talking about Mike Hawkins. He at the time he was at Allen. I was like, he plays right up the street. And I remember saying something along the lines of like people kind of say like he's not Kyler, but he has a little bit of that to him from the extent of his athleticism and all that. And as soon as I said they think he's like Kyler, he looked at me and he was like, that's impossible, because it's true. There's never going to be another Kyler Murray. I mean, you can when you watch the draft and you see all these different comparisons from these quarterbacks, you'll probably see a name like Baker Mayfield. You'll see stuff like that, but you won't see Kyler Murray because I mean, there's just you don't just find Kyler Murray's every 3-4 years. That's a once in a lifetime type player, and I really wish he could have gotten a national championship, because if he did, I think nationally he would get a ton more respect. He would probably be as respected as somebody like a Joe Burrow. Now, granted, Joe Burrow was playing out of his mind that year, but when you take all into account the talent and all that, maybe you can take the defense into account too, and you see he led that Oklahoma team to a national championship. They'd be talking about him as he already is one of the greatest athletes to play college football, but I think it'd be on another level had he left Oklahoma with a ring.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, you guys, have been hitting the nail on the head just in terms of Kyler and his impact. I was talking to somebody else the other day at my school, and obviously, I'm probably the only Oklahoma fan in my school, but up here in Indianapolis. But we were just talking about the fact that he's the only guy that's been picked in the top 10 of 2 major sports. Right,
Yep.
top 10
I didn't even mention that.
in MLB and top 10 in the NBA. Like, that's crazy, right? And so that's one thing. But I think a play, and then we'll move on here because I know we're gonna get to the spring game, and a lot of people trying to have the bit to talk about that and recruiting and big weekend, all that. But man, for me personally, I was at the 2018 West Virginia game in West Virginia, and the run, and obviously I know that game had so many plays in it, so high scoring. But the play that sticks out to me the most was his long touchdown run, and the reason is because if you've ever been to Morgantown, Jalen, I don't know if you have. Trav, you've been right, Trav, to Morgantown. It's crazy, right? Now you have nice people; they're very kind, they're very friendly, but they get a couple beers in them. You got the guys with the muskrat hats and everything, and it gets rowdy. And so there's a guy, this raccoon hat in front of us, and he's just talking smack like fans do, and he's like, Kyler sucks, bro. He's terrible. Like, he sucks. And literally, the very next play was that 60+ yard touchdown run, and all of us Oklahoma fans that were behind him just stared at him. Just, what'd you say? You said what? Like it was like a surreal moment. So personally, for me, that's something that I remember and hold dear to my heart that I got to see that in person. So man, it's gonna be so exciting to see him and his family and everything that they've meant to OU. And obviously college football, high school football, and it will continue to pay dividends as Trav said with Mike Hawkins Jr. Coming and everything like that. I know Kevin Murray enjoyed his time at OU, just as a dad, and yeah. So I'm stoked to see him immortalized, and it should be fun. But let's get to the nitty gritty and what the people want to talk about. On top of that, is what's going to happen after the ceremony, which is the spring game. That as we have seen, it's going to be a different format. Obviously, there's offense versus defense. There's specific scoring. I'm not going to go through the whole list right now, but it is geared more towards defensive scoring. There's a lot of different ways the defense can get points, whereas the offense, it's kind of more if regular, if you can imagine it. And so I'm interested to see, how the defense does, how the defense performs, see how much they can outscore the offense by, because that's what we really want to see. Obviously, we have an idea, an inkling of what the offense is going to look like with Dylan Gabriel again. Obviously, we know there's been talks of Jackson Arnold pushing him and everything like that. DG is going to be the guy, and we won't get too into that, but just it's cool to see. Wide receiver room. Not necessarily, and we talked about that last week, right, Trav? Not necessarily anybody locked down. You got Drake Stoops, you got Jalil Farouk, but interesting to see what they look like. Offensive line obviously is a little bit banged up, which is why we're doing this specific type of spring game. But again, I think people really want to see our defense take that next step. Our offense was not the reason that we lost games last year outside of Texas, which again that is what it is with no DG. But other than that, the close games we were in, if our defense, is half as good as they could have been, it's probably a different story. So, what are you guys expecting to see out of the spring game? What are you hoping to see? I also have just questions about who do you think the breakout star on offense and defense is going to be. So we'll get to that here in a second. But just give me your initial thoughts when it comes to spring game and your feelings on it. Jalen, we can start with you.
Yeah, well, I always so here's the thing. I think that one, everybody looks good in the spring, and it's kind of hard to judge it in the spring game because you typically will have guys that'll break out and then you don't hear from them during the season. And that's when it gets hard to judge. But on a more positive note, I think like if you ask me to pick a player offensively that's probably going to break out in this game, I think I would consider it somebody like an Angelo Anthony. There's a lot of talk surrounding him so far this spring. I know a few Michigan fans who were pretty upset that he didn't get high quality reps while he was at Michigan, which I mean, look, with Michigan's offensive line and running backs, you don't even need to pass the ball. So you see why, but he has the speed that Jeff Lebby wants. He can stretch the field, he can do all those things. I continue to see him being the guy behind Jalil Farouk, assuming Jalil Farouk is WR1, if you will. So excited to see how he looks. Defensively, I would wanna get well, actually I'll say this for offense. My original pick would have been somebody like like Quentin said, Tawi Walker, or another running back would have been somebody like Chapman McCown. Now people can laugh at that because he's a walk-on, but kid's been killing it so far this spring. He was killing it during bowl prep when he came in as one of the early enrollees. And I mean, he's like I say, he's our very own Deuce Vaughn, as a lot of fans would say. So that would have been fun for the fans to watch, to see somebody like that get a chance to get some carries. But to my knowledge, he's not going to play Saturday, so we won't even have to worry about that. But defensively, I would probably give the nod to Josiah Wagner because, again, another guy coming out of high school. A lot of people were excited about him. So far this spring, there's been a lot of chatter about him. I know people have seen the stuff on social media of him breaking up passes on Jalil Farouk and stuff like that. But you talk about a guy who small but mighty. I mean, I think he's only like 5'10", 5'11", but his physicality, his will to just want to be better than the guy across from him is something that Oklahoma DB has, or something that the Oklahoma DB room has lacked for years, because we've always complained about how you didn't have corners that when the ball was in the air, they got scared. When the ball was in the air, they didn't want to go fight for it. You would have guys like Parnell Motley that could do that. But yeah, exactly. They would panic. And even, I mean, look, I love Woody Washington, but Woody Washington had some moments like that last year. And I love Woody truly. I mean, but Josiah Wagner truly is one of those guys that I think it was Jay Valai that called him a pit bull. That's what he is. And then Brent Venables called him something today. He called him like a 600-pound something. I don't remember what it was, but pretty much called him tough. So, I mean, it's I'm excited to really see what he does. I mean, you know, and I'm sure we'll probably get into this later, but when you look at somebody like a Jaden Davis transferring, that probably tells you a lot about the young guys that are coming in, like a Josiah Wagner, like a Makari Vickers, like a Kendall Dolby, who's not exactly young because he's played college ball, but newcomers. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. I mean, from an entire defensive perspective, again, it's a spring game, so I can't really say, like, because if the defensive ball is out, you know, people are going to say, well, the offense sucks and this and that. But defensively, I just want to see how rotations work with linebackers, with safeties, with D-line, especially seeing guys like Trace Ford get a chance to play if he does. You know, seeing where Reggie Grimes and Ethan Downs are now when you bring in guys like Rondo Bothroyd, who seems like he's going to be the leader of this defense. I mean, linebackers, I'm really excited about Phil Picciotti. He's huge. Okay. PJ Adebari, of course, that's self-explanatory. So I mean, Deshaun McCullough, like, I could go on and on, but I'm really just interested to see how the rotations are going to work from a standpoint now.
Yeah. Trav.
Yeah. So, you know, Jalen touched on it. It's very hard. I was talking to somebody about this earlier today. It's very hard to talk about spring because, like I said, everybody looks good. You know, they're not often, you know, full pads. They're not hitting like they were. They got blue jerseys on. Like, it is what it is. I mean, last year, like you said, it was Micah Bowens. We talked about it last week. Micah Bowens completing the longest pass of the day to Jaden Gibson over Dorian Plumlee. And Dorian Plumlee hit the portal. Micah Bowens still is in the portal. And Jaden Gibson couldn't get on the field. So it's like, but that's the problem. Like, a lot of people just base their assumptions off of what they see there. And they're going, well, why didn't Micah Bowens start against Texas? Like, okay, like we don't need to get so wrapped up in the spring game, especially spring ball. Like, and I know it's not popular for content creators or radio hosts to be like, spring doesn't really matter. Just make sure everybody's healthy. But to a certain extent, I mean, you really have to take spring with a grain of salt. You obviously want to see people's bodies progress. You want to see people healthy, which is something obviously we're struggling with. You look at the tight end room. You look at some of the running backs now. I mean, you look at Gavin Sawchuk. That's really your only starter, if you will, at least top two in the rotation of that. I think it will be. That's healthy. Obviously, Marcus Major out with the hand. Javonte Barnes still out. You know, so you're going to see hopefully some freshmen, you know, play a little bit. So with that being said, when you're saying breakout star of a spring game, it's going to come down to reps, right? So it's like, okay, you know, Austin Stogner is going to be on a pitch count because he's the only healthy tight end we got. Him and Davis Bevel, only healthy tight ends we got. So you've got that. Well, okay, pitch count. So who's going to get a lot of the snaps? Looks like Jackson Arnold will probably get a good amount of snaps. You think they'll probably try and work through the wide receiver room a little bit. So, you know, you'll have some guys that try and show out there. Obviously, your Nick Andersons of the world, Andrew Anthony, like Jalen mentioned. I still think, you know, like guys like Gavin Freeman, Jalen, we talked about this last week. Like, I'm of the belief that nobody played well enough last year to secure a spot. And just because you have seniority in a room, I don't think you should get I don't think you should get a starting role for the most part. If you go and earn that starting role, absolutely. Absolutely. But we need guys that can get open, can make plays, can win battles, win 50-50 balls, blow by people, take the top off the defense, everything like that. But with that being said, I think I want to see body types. Like I want to see things that jump out. I want to see Andrew Anthony's speed, right? I want to see size on the outside with Nick Anderson. I want to see how Stogg looks going over the middle with them big hamburger helper, white gloves he's got going on, the Mario Brothers gloves. Like I want to see that. So with that being said, jump over to the defense. I want to see body types, right? I want to see Pachotti move, right? I want to see how Gentry looks, because obviously Gentry, I think, is going to be starting opposite of Woody Washington. We'll see. Kendall Dolby is obviously going to have something to say about that. But I want to see Pachotti out there. I want to see PJ out there. I want to see guys just have body types that we're not necessarily used to yet. I want to see Deshaun McCullough out there. Like, that's important to me. I'll be interested to watch the returners. I know we're talking about defense, but I think a lot of guys are going to get a lot of different looks in the return game, or at least out there catching them and whatnot, even, if it's a kind of a muted, special teams type situation they got going on. But that being said, like it comes down to body types for me. And you bring up a great point with Jaden Davis entering the portal. I was told back during the national championship game that Jaden was likely going in the portal. So that was before Wagner got on. That was before Macari got on. Like that was before those guys even showed up to campus. So that tells me that even guys like Gentry and like Kenai Walker, like I think those guys have stepped up, and I like Kenai to get the spot behind Woody opposite the Dolby Gentry battle. I think they really liked what they saw out of him in Louisville and what they brought him in. So with that, of course, you got guys like Macari and Josiah Wagner that are going to force themselves onto the field. There's no two ways about it. They are going to get on the field. But I think we've got so much talent just behind that first layer in, like I said, in guys like Gentry and even like a Jaden Rowe type, where we don't have a lot of athletes look like Jaden Rowe out there. Like, and then Kenai Walker, those kind of guys. So with that being said, I guess it's probably, like I said, just got to come down to body types for me. See what Grayson and Kelvin Gilliam and those kind of dudes do as well.
Well, just to your point about the seniority, I think that was an issue last year too, because when you saw players like, I mean, the scapegoat of all-time OU football, but Justin Broyles, who I love dearly, even, I mean, Deshaun White wasn't terrible, but like he had his moments last year. Like there were some seniors that you watched last year and were like, why is this guy still on the field? But the thing about that is that's the thing with a first-year head coach. You can't just come in here and start benching guys that have played a long time. Like no matter how BV, and we know what kind of coach BV is, and he is one of those people that's going to say, if you're not doing your job, you're going to sit down. But he's a first-year guy. Like you can't just come in and start telling guys, you can do that, but it's just not going to fly over well. So, I think he played it smart with that. But at this point now, you can do that because you're already settled in. They know how you roll. So that should be gone and over with now. But just to your point about the body types with the linebackers, you can kind of see it right now. Like, I don't know if y'all have seen the picture of Phil Pachotti and like I think it was Kobe McKenzie standing next to each other. Those two are huge.
Yeah.
And it's not even summer yet. So they've got 2 more months left of workouts to get right, to get bigger and bigger. So that's going to be fun to see.
So have you guys heard of the concept of the region beta paradox?
Nope.
So the region beta paradox simply says that if you were to need to go a mile, you would walk. But if you were need to go 2 miles, you would drive. And you would go then quicker 2 miles than you would 1, right? So you would essentially be in a better situation being there quicker if you started in a worse place, right? So that pretty much says like, okay, it's a mile away, I'll walk. It's no big deal. It's a mile away, I'll walk. No big deal. things have to as things get worse, then you are put in a position to make a change to make it better. The change is it's worse. It's 2 miles away. The way I'm going to change that and make it better is I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to go. So it's kind of that's how you kind of beat mediocrity. That's how you beat comfortability. That's how you beat good instead of being great, right? So that's what I think last season needed. I think Brent Venables, the first time head coach, like you said, he needed guys that were like, look, I can rely on these guys. I may run them into the dirt, but it's what I got. And part of the issue is we saw it with the wide receiver room this year when Andrew Anthony was talking. So Andrew Anthony said J.J. Hester and L.V. Bunkley Shelton were helping him immensely. They were quizzing him on routes. They were, going through drills with him, everything like that. Well, last year, nobody could do that with anybody because Dylan was a year off from the offense and Levy didn't bring anybody over from Ole Miss. So they were the only ones who knew it. So now you bring Valai, who had never coached Venables defense. You bring Brandon Hall, who really hadn't coached Venables defense either. You've got Ted Roof, who's kind of calling it. You've got Chavis, who has been in it, but he's never coached on the field before. You've got Bates, who's coached it. But you've got all these different guys that are coaching the position for the first time. And it's like, look, when push comes to shove, even if these guys don't get the defense fully, I want guys that at least played a lot of football.
Yeah.
So that's how you get your Deshaun Whites and Weibus and Justin Broyles on the field for all that time, because it's like, look, at least I trust that they're going to, not screw up as much. Maybe they aren't going to physically be where we would like them to be, like physically, like be in the shape that we want them to be or the size we want them to be. But at least they're going to be at least in the right area. So, anyways, I think that's kind of what they got into. But like you said, it's that region beta paradox. It had to get bad for people to go, okay, we need to make changes, because I think if we win 8 or 9 games, I think if we win 9 games last year, then we don't see half the portal, entry or acquisitions that we do. We don't see that kind of stuff, because it's like, okay, all we have to do is get a little better. No, we got to get a lot better. So everything's up for competition now.
Yep, and we've talked about it ad nauseum over the season and even into now. There were so many hidden things, from the last regime that you may not see off rip or on a piece of paper, right? People say you won so many games, but again, when you look at, for example, a season like 2021, when Spencer Rattler started at QB, and you look at last season, there were so many games that were so similar that we just won in 2021. Like, we just came out on the winning side, right? We just made the plays that were necessary. And this year that did not happen, right? And that was a difference. It's not like we were getting blown out every game, right? Or losing by 2 scores every game or something like that. And so, you can see the pieces there. But as you said, like, just to get to the number of, like, man, we're 6-7. We had a losing season for the first time in, 20 years. Like, Jalen wasn't even born, right? And I was a baby, 5 years old, 5, 6 years old. Like, it just, it's crazy to think about. And so now you're getting into a place where guys want to come in. They still believe in Brent Venables. They still believe in his philosophy, his scheme, especially defensively. And I think you've seen that with how we recruited, and even with the guys we got in the portal. So I'm excited to see the defense. I am. I want to see the defensive line, get some sacks. Obviously, I know the offensive line is a little bit down, right, a little bit hurt. But regardless, I just want to see a different and shed them, actually, because we need that. We're going to need that going into next season. So that's something I'm looking for. And Jalen, I know you said it kind of specifically, but let's just real quick, And chat, you guys join in too. Let's go around and let's say a breakout star on offense, and then we'll do defense too. Trav, you can start.
I will take, like I said, there's a bunch of different ways you can say breakout, but I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit, Jackson Arnold. Low-hanging fruit.
Low hanging.
Oh Lord. Here's my only issue with that is like if Jackson has a great game, all I'm gonna hear for the next week on Instagram is quarterback battle, quarterback battle, quarterback battle. And
Well, of course.
I don't have
Of
time for
course.
any of that. It's gonna
You can-
happen. And
You can hear it. Would you rather him play poorly?
well, no, because then what happens there is you get a situation like Arch Manning where
Exactly.
they're already nailing him to the cross because he sucked in a spring game. And I think the spring game matters. It does. It's first taste of football, the fans, it's exciting, da, 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 da. But like to the players, they've scrimmaged each other 2-3 times already. Like this time they're just doing it in front of a crowd. So like to them, it's not that big of a deal, but they know like, okay, if I go out here and suck, I'm gonna be all over Twitter. And like I'm watching all these people go at Arch Manning, and I'm like, guys, it's a glorified scrimmage. Like it's not the end all be all for a player. So even if Jackson doesn't go out and suck, you also might see some people that are like, oh, I don't know about this guy. He may not be what everybody says he is. Well, it's a spring game. Like if I remember correctly, since this weekend is kind of centered around Kyler Murray, I don't even remember if Kyler played that well in his spring game in 2018.
No,
it was freezing that day. I remember it. Right. Yeah. I remember that game. And I don't think he didn't play well in that one. I mean, you can point to a lot, but
here's my thing with Jackson. Here's my thing with Jackson. I think it'll just come down to snaps, personally. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that Dylan will have a very short day. I think once they get Dylan some reps with whoever they're cycling through at that outside receiver spot opposite Jaleel, I think after they get a couple of reps in with whoever they want to cycle through there with Dylan, I think that'll be kind of his day. But then I think Jackson's going to get a lot of snaps. Mm-hmm. And I think as Jackson goes in with perhaps second string offensive linemen, and I know we got a ton banged up. Rouse is out, Sexton's out, so the left tackle position's open, obviously. You've got kind of people jockeying for guards. You might see some freshmen in there. Like I think Jackson isn't going to have a ton of great offensive line play yet in front of him. So I think that's going to force him outside the pocket, and he's going to make some crazy throw, and everybody's going to say, well, I mean, Sooners 360 already says that they're basically neck and neck. There's a quarterback battle. So, if you buy into that, then go for it. But he's going to make a throw, and everybody's going to ooh and ah because he's got crazy arm talent. He's going to do it on the run because he's got the legs, and I don't think his offensive line play is going to be great by that part of the game, and I think he's going to get a ton of reps. Yeah. And that is why I think those are all the ingredients for a breakout game in a spring game.
Yeah, I think for Jackson, it's like, Jackson was on my podcast this past winter, I think. And I asked him that. I was like, are you coming in to be the starter, or are you coming in to take a seat back and learn? And he said, of course, I'm going to push Dylan in practice. Of course, I'm going to do this and that. But I am completely fine with having to learn the offense and I don't want to misquote him, but like learning the offense and learning learning how to be a leader from somebody like a Dylan Gabriel, who is a great leader from everything I hear about him. So, I mean, that Jackson's not really, it's not like Caleb Williams, who, and I said this last night, like when Caleb Williams came in, he knew he was the better quarterback. As soon as he stepped on campus, he knew this should have been his team.
Yeah.
And I even remember in that spring game, he outplayed Spencer Rattler. And I remember the comment section, he should be the starter. He should be the starter. And that kind of stuff's going to happen a lot. But, I think just for me, like the thing with Jackson is this. I mean, you see the clips of him on Twitter throwing these passes in practice, and it's like, well, he's a 5-star recruit. Like, of course he can throw a good ball, but
you want to see how. Like that.
Right, that's exactly what it should look like. But you want to see how does he look reading a defense? How does he look under pressure? How does he look with this and that? against, granted, it is his own team, but college athletes, guys that he's going to see every Saturday in the future. So I think for me, like, I'll be completely fine if he ends up being QB2, because at least, like, if Dylan Gabriel goes down, you're in good hands and you don't have to deal with what you dealt with in Dallas last year.
Yeah,
But
it opens up the run game, because now you can pull it down and run it with Dylan more, knowing that you have Jackson Arnold, who's capable back there if he needs to, or not needs to, obviously, if he does get banged up. So yeah, but 5 stars should complete throws in practice.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a scenario, the only way that I think that somebody like Jackson would start in the season is if Dylan Gabriel just sucks. Like, if he goes out there and forgets how to play football, that's the only way. Or of course Dylan gets hurt. But other than that, that's the only scenario I see it happening. But
I mean, Dylan might finish top 5 in NCAA history for passing yards in a career. If he has a good year, then he could pass, I think it's Ty Detmer, and be a top 5 quarterback yards wise in NCAA history. So, I mean, obviously you can go seasons and this, that, and the other, but he has been hurt a lot and everything like that. So it's like, this guy's played a ton of football. And I like how you brought up how Jackson was on and talked about kind of stepping up and learning how to be a leader and everything like that. He said something similar when he came on pregame with us with Parker. He's like, look, I'm here to compete. I'm competitive by nature. I want to be the best. I want to play, right? Nobody comes because they don't want to play. Like, there's not a single recruit you can ask. You can ask anybody from Josh Bates to Taylor Wine. They're all going to say, I want to play, like, now. But they all understand, look, like, I have an opportunity here to learn from somebody in front of me. And that's what Jackson said. He said, I can't wait for the opportunity to learn from Dylan Gabriel, learn the offense from Dylan Gabriel, because everybody that's saying, well, look, Jackson, he played in the same offense as Levy's when he was at Guyton, so he can just seamlessly come in and it's fine. Like, no, that's not. Like, it had a lot of the same concepts and everything, and it's very similar, but there's completely different language. He's playing with completely different offensive line, completely different receivers. They're communicating it completely differently. Like, so that's like, there's so much value in sitting. Patrick Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith. I mean, we need to see the value in sitting behind a veteran. Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre for years. Tom Brady was behind Drew Bledsoe. I mean, you got these guys Peyton Manning, he played right away. He wasn't no, star right out of the gate either, really. So it's like, that's the thing. We need to get in the habit of saying, like, guys, let's calm down. There is so much value. Jackson will be so much better. Look at Caleb. Caleb came in, and I compare it to the lottery, or I compare it to a slot machine. So Caleb came in against Texas. What did he do? Threw up 50-50 balls, and people just like Marvin Mims and these guys just coming down with them. So Caleb thinks, bro, this is easy. This is awesome. All I got to do is throw it up, and that guy will go get it. So then what did he do down the stretch? He was throwing balls up into double and triple coverage. And because he didn't have any time to adjust, and it was like that slot machine, man. You go in, if you hit on the first pull, you put a $20 bill in, you win $2,000, you will quit your job and say, I'm a professional gambler now because this is easy. And then what do? You continue to gamble, and then you're living under a bridge. Yeah. So with that, obviously Caleb ain't living under any bridge, but in LA, you never know. But it's you need to learn behind that, because Caleb made freshman mistakes the entire rest of the year. So that's where it's like we needed a miracle from him to beat Kansas. Like, he went 3-2 against ranked teams. So the Caleb we saw last year that won the Heisman was not the Caleb that was a true freshman. We all remember the Texas game, and we think, well, this guy must have gone undefeated and not had a single turnover, and we must have blown every team out. That's just simply not what happened.
Yeah, and I think there's a part of this fan base that just thinks that you see these 5-star guys come in and think that they're going to be like the guy from day one. And like you said, that's not usually how that goes. Like some guys have to sit back and learn. Because if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure Bryce Young did the same thing. He sat behind Mac Jones his freshman year, if I'm not mistaken. And now we see how that's going for him.
Yeah.
And I mean, and Caleb Williams is one of those guys that's like, I mean, I guess it's safe to say, like I said about Kyler Murray, you don't run into those every 3-4 years. Caleb Williams is probably that kind of guy. Like he's not one of those guys that you're just gonna find on the streets. He's I don't want to go as far to say like generational talent, but he's pretty freaking good. So but I mean, you make a lot of points though, because I remember that season talking about it all the time. Like you can tell, like he's good, but you can tell he's a true freshman. You can tell one of my favorite quotes, you can tell he doesn't know what he doesn't know. Like you can very well see. I mean, think about the Iowa State game. The kid threw 90 yards for the whole game. Like, the OSU game wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. And granted, OSU had a good defense that year, but the Kansas game, of course, the Baylor game. I mean, you could go down the list, but he had his moments where you could tell he's got a lot of learning to do. So if somebody like Jackson Arnold did have to step up to the plate this year, you're going to see those from him too. He's not going to come in and just look like he walks on water. He's going to have moments where you're like, okay, he needs to learn a little bit more. And like I said, he'll probably be one of the first people to tell you that. So,
and that's the hope, that we don't have to have him come in, right? So,
right, exactly. Yeah, you don't want that. I don't think you want that, but
yeah, it's bad news. And like I said, Caleb would have been the first overall pick had he been able to come out this year. Like there are teams like NFL people talk about that. They're like, there are a lot of teams that are waiting because they really, if they want to reset a quarterback, they're waiting on Caleb Williams. Yeah. So it's like he is that dude. And I'm not going to sit up here and say that he isn't. Like he's incredible. He's going to be the favorite to win the Heisman again. He's going to put up insane numbers again. And guess what? He's going to be even better than he was last year because that's usually how it works. So he's going to be better. He's going to be great. All I'm saying is he was not last year's, like he wasn't Heisman winner Caleb Williams. He showed flashes, but he would tell you himself, as confident as him and his dad and everybody is around him, that he wasn't as good in his freshman year. He needed to work on stuff. That's perfectly fine.
Hey, let's get into a little bit of recruiting this weekend. We know we're going to have a big time recruiting presence this weekend. We got a lot of guys coming. And Trav, I know you're going to speak to that a little bit. Now, there's a lot of momentum about people committing potentially this weekend. So there's the question, and chat, you guys go ahead and chime in on this. Over or under 3 commits this weekend. I'll let you guys answer that. And Trav, you can just give us an update, man, on what you've been hearing recruiting wise.
Yeah, it's been going quick. There's no doubt about it. On basketball and football. I mean, they've been trading blows, man. It's, basketball, obviously, with the 2 big pickups with Hugley, the power forward out of Pitt, 6'9", 240. Missed last year with an injury. He should be fine, good to go. Gives us a bigger body, like a traditional bigger body down low. Obviously, you got Javion McCullum from Siena, guard. He's fantastic. We're still waiting on an announcement from Javon Small. We'll see. We'll see if he might see a better pathway to ball handling at OSU, but he's down to OSU and OU. So we'll see. And then Traore, former Uzan teammate out of Auburn, 6'10" guy, former 5-star, obviously a guy that we're after. So get 2 basketball commits in back-to-back days. And now we're already 2 this week in football commitments. So already 2 this week. I expect we get one tomorrow. I expect we probably get one Saturday, and we probably get one Monday or Tuesday. So I think I would take over 3, just as a guess.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I would take over. we have an absurd amount of talent coming in. We've got between the 24 and 25 class, we've got 3 5-stars that are going to be in town. We've got probably 15 to 18 4-stars, I think, that are going to be there. I mean, it's going to be significant because that's the thing. It's when you look at the wide receiver room, right? Like we talked about, like if Isaiah McMorris doesn't commit, may not be any time left. Well, KJ Daniels commits, and now obviously Wesco and Zion are the two that are going to take those top 2 positions. It's just a matter of time. So with that, obviously, I think we get one of those this weekend or shortly after. Obviously, we've got Autry announcing tomorrow. That is, for those of you who don't know, Marcus Dupree. It's his first cousin's son. So some family ties. Obviously, living in Mississippi. I believe he's from Tupelo, Mississippi. So got some big time defensive linemen in town, obviously, in both classes. So yeah, just a lot. I'm not sure that any of the defensive linemen are ready to shut it down this weekend. I would expect them not to. I do think you're looking at some offensive commitments, maybe a defensive commitment, but mostly offensive commitments. And I think D-line we're still trying to sort out because, obviously we're bringing in, a 5-star defensive lineman who LSU allegedly leads for because he's out of Louisiana. So with that, it's like LSU doesn't have a defensive line coach right now. So they're going to have to hire one before that recruitment cools off. LSU is always going to find something good, but it's kind of like Oklahoma hiring coaches. Like people want to coach at Oklahoma, so you can usually find good ones. But the defensive line commits are not announcing yet. So Tim, I see you there, but they're not announcing this weekend. They, I still think we end up with at least 2 5-stars on the defensive line in this class. So, but expect a little bit of offense this weekend, maybe a defender, if I had to guess. And probably some more basketball. I mean, at least definitely one more basketball announcement. So living it up, man. Living it up.
I hope so for basketball because people in Norman are about ready to throw Porter Moser into the river. So
man, that's my thing, man. I wish people would cool it on Porter. It feels so just. I got people saying like after Javion McCullum announced, they're like, okay, so do we just have 4 people on roster now? It's like, no. What are you talking? No, we only had 6 roster spots to fill. There's 13 spots on a roster. So that means we had 7. That would make him the 8th. Now we've got the 9th. So we've got 4 more spots. And it's like, I don't get it because, and I think part of it is football recruiting talk pays the bills, right? Football reporting at Oklahoma pays the bills. So naturally, you don't have the manpower to talk about OU basketball recruiting. And it's different. Like it's just a different animal because you've got D2, JUCO, like you've got so many more schools. I mean, just infinite numbers of schools that we're talking about here. So, I mean, we've got a Tennessee Tech, a Siena, all these guys that we're after. And it's like, so when you look at stuff like that, it's not only are there more people, but there are 1,000 people in over 1,000 people. And we have guard play now. We've got the 2 top 100 freshmen players coming in, one that I think might be a one and done guy. It's like, and now big guys are a lot like defensive linemen in the portal. Everybody wants them. Yeah. So it's there's more to it. Obviously, like Javian McCollum was the 10th ranked player in the portal that's got 1,000 people in it. So you got a top 1% guy, and everybody's like, well, Porter better do something because, man, keep in mind, the players that Porter recruited, they're still on the team. Like full cycle, they're still on the team, and they're your best players on the team. I'm sorry, I know we ran the offense through Sherfield and Groves last year, but give me Uzan and Owe all day. Northweather, we'll see how he develops, but it's one of those things like two best players going forward. Like Uzan's getting first round talk, like buzz, like significant buzz. And I mean, I remember watching games last year, and it's like this kid is our most talented team or most talented on the team. And having a guy like Javian McCollum, and now he is electrifying. He moves the ball well. The ball so many times during last year, like it was, hey, try and force Sherfield the ball. Like get Sherfield the ball so he can put up a three. Or, okay, Groves is going to battle on the block until he goes up top, and then he'll get it, either shoot the three or try and work a pick and roll. Like there just wasn't – it wasn't until Uzan really got in there and late in the year when they started to trust Owe a little bit more. Like there was far more ball movement. So if you get Small, you get McCollum, and if you got Uzan, Javian, and Small, like those are three guards that can do it all. They can pass, they can shoot, they can score, they can play make, they're constantly moving. And then you get the two top 100 forwards coming in, and now you're and still got Owe. Like you're looking at a hyper athletic, decently long team. We've just got to get a couple more big guys. I think Traore is obviously at the top of that list. But yeah, I think we are in better shape going forward in basketball than a lot of people think, because the young nucleus that we have, they all committed to Porter. They aren't leaving. And when you see a bunch of guys enter the portal and go to places like St. Louis, or I don't know, Wichita State, or, I mean, I don't want to, throw jabs at a bunch of former players, but like, it is what it is. Like when you get guys headed out and, this isn't a Brady Manick situation where North Carolina is picking up, one of these guys or something like that. Like it's very much a situation like football just went through, VCU, like we lost guys to Texas State, New Mexico State, and FAU, and I love those guys. But there's a reason that they didn't have a ton of looks. There's a lot of guys, I think Trayvon, Darby, Micah, Bray, like all of them are still in the portal. So I think when you look at that and you think, okay, who are the guys that Porter brought in on a full cycle? They're your four most like highest upside guys when you're talking about NBA looks, and they're all still there. So get me worked up on basketball right before a spring game. Look at that.
Well, I think
a whole basketball dissertation right there.
I think that was the big thing too for a lot of the fans, was like if Los or Otega Owe leaves, then burn the program to the ground. Like that's what a lot of people were thinking. Which
I would have brought the gasoline. I would have brought the gasoline.
Oh yeah,
like
exactly.
In that instance, that's what I was saying when Jalen Hill entered the portal. Love Jalen Hill. He's a great on-ball defender. Yeah. He's not big enough to defend bigs down low, and he really doesn't shoot the three ball well. He was 20% last year. He was 29% this year. So it's like you have to, if you're going to guard wings and smaller forwards, then you have to be able to stretch and actually hit shots from the outside. So it's like, I love Jalen. He was glue guy. Like and he's teaming up actually with the Boone twins now at UNLV, and UNLV's actually got some stuff cooking out there. I think they might be pretty good. But like everybody was like, oh, what a gut punch. What a huge loss for Oklahoma. Fire Porter, get rid of the program, all that kind of stuff. Like, because Jalen Hill left? No, like he wouldn't have ended the season next year likely as a starter. And the only reason you should be the only reason to panic is if Los or Owe leave. If, just like you said, if either one of those two things happen, I'm bringing the gasoline. You bring the matches.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, like, it's a big thing with this fan base. Like, I mean, we saw it in football too, and I was about ready to slap anybody who said it. But every time something goes wrong, the immediate reaction is, we'll fire that guy. People wanted Brent Venables gone after Texas. Again, I was ready to just slap the life out of anybody who did it.
Yeah.
Porter Moser, same situation. I held on for dear life and trying not to say it. I don't think I ever straight up said he should be fired, but I said something like, you might have to have the conversation of like, are we sure this is going to go the way that we expected it to go? Because like I said yesterday, there's no doubt in my mind he's a great basketball coach. I don't doubt that for a second. I mean, he took a school in the Missouri Valley Conference or whatever it's called to the Final Four. Like, you don't just do that all the time. I don't doubt that he can coach basketball. It's just, can he do it at this level? Which the Big 12 is what the SEC is to football.
Yeah.
Like, it's the best league in the country. And so, I mean, it's a different animal. And then you're transitioning into the SEC, which is also not a very bad basketball conference. I mean, there's a lot of athletes over there. So, you're looking into how that goes. But I think, like, for basketball this past season, it was like, well, you got big men that can't rebound. You got, they can't shoot very well. They're just not playing basketball very well. And everybody's like, okay, it's time to clean house. Everybody needs to go. Everybody's going to do that. But, I mean, you talk about guys like Los and Owe, you bring in the transfers you've got. You still got guys like Sam Godwin. Shout out to Sam, Sophomore SaberCat legend. I mean, you're putting the pieces together. So it's the same thing like we say with football. It's a process. So I'm not quite ready to get rid of him, but I think we'll be better.
I'm glad that you brought up football, like compared to football, like as far as people reacting to coaches, right? Like, yeah. How did Clemson win? If you had to break it down into just a couple words, how did Clemson win, and how is Brent Venables trying to win at Oklahoma?
The process.
Yeah, culture. I mean, build the culture.
It was
process.
The culture, and see, that's what's interesting, because like I think back before Brent Venables even got to Clemson, it's not like they were what they were today. Like they were winning, but they weren't. They were one of those schools, if I remember correctly, that was winning like 8 games a year. And then I think that the last season before Brent Venables got there, they got like 70 put on them in a bowl game. And then he comes in there, takes them some time in that first year, just like this past year. Yeah. Second year, they get a little bit better. By the third year, they're one of the best defenses in the country. And then year after year after year, they become this elite juggernaut on defense. So, it's all a part of the process. And that's what every great program goes through. So, right. But it's just for fans. It sucks because, like JP said earlier, I wasn't even thought of the last time OU had a losing season. So for people like me, we're so used to OU football being nothing but win. Like the worst season I've ever witnessed before last year was a year where we won 8 games in 2014. And that was a year where people were restless and you were watching Cody Thomas starting at quarterback and stuff like that. But you got to understand, like, and I mean, look, I'll even admit this now as somebody who plays high school football. Like, we're going into the second year with our head coach, and you can literally see the culture being changed right before your eyes. That's the kind of stuff you see at Oklahoma right now. So I think it's just going through that season of waiting that's tough for everybody because they want to win now. That's what you want, especially at a place like Oklahoma. But it takes time, and we'll beat this drum to death. But like this year, and definitely by year 3, you're going to start seeing what this thing is supposed to be.
Yeah,
and that goes for both sports. So
right, but that's the thing, right? It's you're building, and why Porter took a team to the Final Four. It wasn't just a bunch of transfers. And one of your guys, like, it was a team that had been with him for a while, right? You have to build towards that. You have to develop that chemistry, right? Like, the problem is you get to OU, and it's like, let's see it. But the problem is, the problem is you didn't have it. Like, when you look in the rafters, go look in the rafters next time anybody moseys on into Lloyd Noble. It's a bunch of dudes that grew up in Oklahoma for the most part. You got Tisdale, Alvin Adams, you got Blake Griffin, you got Trey Young, or when Trey's jersey goes up, like, it's like you got a lot of guys. A lot of coaches got really lucky with having number 1 or like first round picks, Naismith winners, like all these guys that just happened to grow up in the area or grow up, in the state, whatever, right? So like we haven't really been like okay, let's bring 5-stars from across the country and we're going to assemble this one and done team like this. It just hasn't been what it's been. So it's going to take some time. It's going to take keeping your core together, which is what he's doing. He's keeping, obviously, like I said, Owe and Uzan and Cooper and Cole, keeping them together. Those 4 are at least 2 surefire NBA guys. We'll see on the other 2. But it's like you got that at the core, you can build around that. But Clemson was winning with defense, dominant defensive line play, everything like that. I know that everybody has Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, that they're the reason that they won national championships. I'll hear that argument, but it wasn't a Riley situation where like they just got a stud quarterback and they're just going to try and outscore everybody. Like they had great defenses and they had a great overall culture. So
1,000%, 1,000%. Let's get into some this or that, and then we'll get out of here. It's been a good show. Talked about a lot. Spring ball, basketball, tying it all in. And as we said at the outset, Kyler is being honored. And so in honor of Kyler, we got a couple of this or that's for him. And then obviously our food one. And Jalen, I don't know if you remember the last time you were here, this or that is you got to choose one or the other. Gun to your head. Which one are you doing? No neithers, no cop-outs. Got to choose one. All right. Chat, you guys already know what time it is. Let's do it. First one. Which one would you rather, or would you say was better, right? The Kyler touchdown run versus Texas, or the Kyler touchdown throw versus Texas? And I'm talking about the one-handed Grant Calcaterra catch in the back of the end zone that we all know and love. Which one are you going with?
Jalen, you go first.
Okay, so I'm trying my best to remember the Calcaterra hold on. The Calcaterra catch, was that because I didn't even really get to watch the whole game because I had a basketball game that day, but I remember seeing highlights. So y'all got to remind me, were we behind at that point, or was that like the icing on the cake?
It was icing.
Okay, that's what I thought.
But that was the winning play in the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, I mean, I think in terms of like from a team standpoint, of course, I'm going to go with the Calcaterra catch because you won the game. But like that run against Texas was so that to me, that was his Heisman moment. Like, even though they lost the game, I think that's the one play I look at when I think about his Heisman season. Because I mean, it was a play essentially that puts you back in the game. It was just, defense, self-explanatory. But that play, like because at that point we were down by 2 touchdowns, and like everybody was pretty much tapped out. It was like, all right, this is it. We're going home. But that play kind of put some energy into the team's bodies, and you saw new life on the sidelines. Like, okay, we might have a chance here, and of course, defense. But I mean, my personal favorite is the run, but I think that the catch, though, I mean, like Brian said in the comments, the throw was impressive. I mean, where he put that ball, and for Grant Calcaterra to make that catch in a moment like that, it was huge. So I think I'm gonna go personally with the run, but the throw is like right there with it.
Right.
That can be true too.
Man, there's the rules of this or that. You can't deviate.
Right, you can't. We said that. You got to be new here, Miranda. You got to go with what we pick.
But welcome to the program. We appreciate you. Anyways, I would say the run, simply because kind of to echo what you guys are saying, that was the Kyler moment, right? Like I would characterize the Calcaterra play as the Calcaterra play. The other one was Kyler and Kyler only. And what was great was when you went back on the rewatch, and even the announcers were saying, "Look, Oklahoma, if they want to have a chance, they've got to score quick." And literally, like it was like JP was talking about in West Virginia, like it was scripted. Hey, they got to score quick if they want to get back in this. And lo and behold, boom, takes it and just shows off that insane speed. It's like that. I think that personally for me was the better Kyler play because it had the drama. It was the moment. It was good. I think the Calcaterra play is more of the Calcaterra play. Yes, Tim, Herm Edwards. I ran into him at Pebble Beach the other day. He was playing with Jeff Saturday. They said,
well, you know what's interesting about that too is like earlier this week I was thinking about we're gonna do a post on Instagram of like Kyler's 5 best plays tomorrow, and when I was thinking about the plays, I was like, I want to put the Calcaterra play, but I don't think people think about Kyler in that play. They think about the catch. They don't really think about the throw. With the run, yeah, you're thinking about Kyler, and again, it's one of those things where like. It was essentially the score that puts you back in the game. Now, if you come back and win that game because they scored again and tied it up, and of course Texas hit a game-winning field goal, but if you come back and win that game, that's another play. Like that goes down in college football history, and you're like, okay, this is the play right here when you think about Kyler Murray, and then you think about like the end. Like there's that picture of him, a picture I'm probably going to get framed in the future, where he's got that one in the sky while he's running down the sideline. Like that becomes a legendary staple across the state of Oklahoma if OU wins that football game. And unfortunately, it didn't happen. But still, I mean, no, I'm definitely going with the run.
Yeah, I agree. I think the run is iconic. Obviously, I mean, the throw is crazy to put in the breadbasket for Calcaterra, but I do think the fact that how Calcaterra caught it was crazier. Like literally one hand, 3 fingers, basically, like was insane. So
JP, you know what's funny about that? I'm willing to bet as a fellow tight end / receiver, when Grant caught that pass, he probably was like, "Did I just catch that?" Like we all have those moments where like you catch a ball and you cannot believe it just happened. So
gotta play
cool
though. Gotta play cool though.
But he definitely was like, "There's no way that just happened."
I mean, he was definitely going off. He spiked the ball right after he caught it. So I mean, he was excited. But yeah, I agree. All right, moving on. Next, we have 2 attributes that Kyler. We were speaking to this earlier. Some guys wish they had 4.3 speed. Some guys wish they could throw the ball 70, 80 yards with the flick of a wrist. Kyler can do both. Obviously, we hope that he gets fully healthy again with ACL and that he can still run as fast as he could before. But at his prime, Kyler could do both. But if you had the opportunity to have either of these attributes, which one would you rather have?
Personally, I would probably say run a 4.3, because my speed's not the best. So I mean, if I could run a 4.3 as a receiver, like, yeah, I'll definitely take that. Now if I grew up a quarterback, I'm taking 80 yards for sure. But I'm team 4.3.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think you got that cannon. I mean, in my everyday life, sure, I would just be racing everybody everywhere I go. I would just get some running shoes on me. I'd be, hey, where we at? Where we at? You want to race? And I'd be racing everybody. I'd go to local schools. I'd be cooking. I'd be everybody. Every high schooler claims they run a 4.3. Oh man, I think I ran a 4.3.
Yeah.
It was hand timed, but I run a 4.3. Like, I promise you don't. Like, I promise you don't. And it's like, so with those, it's like I would probably do. But quarterback, man, you get an arm like that, you get a cannon like that. All you got to do is go throw that Zach Wilson throw, and you're first round.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
You go out and throw against air in some athletic shorts, and bomb it like that, first rounder. Doesn't matter what you do after that. Your contract's guaranteed. I'm sitting pretty. 4-3, you got to have some hands. You got to do something. Yeah. John Ross, fastest guy we've ever seen. What's he doing these days? Yep. I think he just applied it.
No idea.
He applied it Trey's the other day. We need to cook. It's like we don't know. And he fastest combine. Everybody's like, oh man, can't teach people. It's like you got to do a little bit more than that. So I'm going against the grain here. I'm taking the big arm. JP, you're on mute.
I apologize. 10, 15, 20 years ago, I think everybody's always low speed, even now, right? You still, if you run a 14.43, you'll still obviously be very looked at. But, it used to be gospel. Like, you could run that, you're like, oh my God, like, that would get you paid. But now, with the quarterbacking is the best it's ever been in NFL. I mean, just period, to be honest, across college, look at the AFC alone, right? So, people are looking for the next Josh Allen, right? The next Patrick Mahomes, right? Obviously, we know Jalen Hurts just got paid big bucks, and that's going on to the dual threat side of things, not necessarily being able to throw 80 yards. But all that to say, if you have something that, an organization can say, man, we can maybe turn you into a great quarterback. You got a cannon can launch it. They're willing to take more of a risk on that at this point than a guy that runs 4.43. That's super fast. You know what I mean? So, and I think that's why Anthony Richardson, for example, I mean, has as bad as some of his college tape is, has still, so many suitors just because he runs a 4.4 and he can chuck it. He's got an arm. Now, can he aim it? I don't know, right? But Josh Allen was the same way, right? Coming out of Wyoming. So, I mean, and we see what he's turned into. So that's the thing, man. I think it just context. So I would choose
Tim
as well.
Tim said, well, QB is all about information processing. See Tom Brady. What's Jamarcus Russell up to? Well, Tim, he got paid.
He still got,
paid $40 million. John Ross made half of that.
If Tom Brady came out right now, he wouldn't work in this league. He would not.
It's funny you say that because I was thinking the traditional pocket passing quarterback doesn't really exist anymore. Every quarterback you see can run. Even a guy like Arch Manning with his build is like your prototypical pocket passer, but he can run too. So he's not blazing speed, but he can get out of the pocket if he needs to. So I mean that's just the way it's played now. There's just dual threats everywhere, which is great, but
Yep. All right, last one, and then we'll go ahead and get on out of here so we can have a great Friday and weekend. Food one. I don't know if we've done this one, Trav, and I was really thinking on it, man. I don't know how we wouldn't have done this one because I feel like this one's so obvious to do. Pancakes or waffles?
Oh goodness.
Jalen?
Wow. I mean, I eat waffles more, so I'd probably go with those. I'll say this: we have a waffle maker, so I use that a ton. I'll throw protein in it and stuff every once in a while. But with pancakes, I just somehow manage to always screw those up. Like when you got the mix, putting it in the pan and all that crap, I always manage to suck at it. So the waffles are a little bit easier for me. So I'm going to go with those. If I'm going somewhere, if I was picking a breakfast place to go to, I'm going to Waffle House 10 times out of 10 over IHOP. So, that answer is pretty easy for me. I'm going waffles.
they serve waffles and pancakes at both of those places. So it's not just waffles at Waffle House. I'm just saying
Well, see,
you
I've
can
never
go
paid
either.
attention, so I had no idea.
You can go. You can go either place. So,
Yeah.
but Waffle House, if you're feeling spicy, don't test that staff, man. They got hands over there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
IHOP, you're a little safer probably. But anyways, I'm going pancakes. Waffles just never really did it for me, and I know everybody's trying to make chicken and waffles now. This, that, and the other. Like, stop trying to just go with pancakes. Relax. Go with pancakes. A little bit of butter, a little bit of syrup, or a little bit of butter, maybe even a little bit of powdered sugar, something like that, and take them down. Simple as that. You don't need all the nonsense that's going on with waffles these days.
Quick shout out to our guy Isaiah Thomas. He was a Waffle House eating fool. He probably still is, but when he was at Oklahoma, I know he was. So, NIL would have been perfect there,
right?
Do you go to? Has anybody ever gone to Waffle House and had pancakes?
Never.
That's like borderline insanity. Like, you might have to be locked up, James. I don't know. That's like going to IHOP and ordering waffles.
You can do that.
I know you can, but I don't think I would though. I'd rather make a waffle at home. I would probably say pancakes. I'm a big pancake guy. Big pancake guy. Especially with some peanut butter in between them. You know what I mean? Or some Nutella on. I mean, you can't go wrong. But I don't not like waffles either. But if I had to choose, I would definitely choose pancakes. Although waffles, if you get a waffle maker, it's technically easier to make. So
yeah,
like Jalen said, you can mess up pancakes, but nah, man, that's my breakfast bread of choice. My wife would tell you her breakfast bread of choice is French toast.
I can agree with that.
Sue. That's Sue as well.
French toast.
She likes some French toast.
I've never been a huge French toast guy. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know why.
I'm anti, and this is now we're going way off, but like I'm not much of a breakfast breads guy unless it's like T-ring or something like that's like a family tradition that we make in like holidays and all this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's never made sense to me. Like donuts never made sense to me. Why are you waking up and eating like the least healthy thing possible? Like why are you eating fried bread covered in sugar? Sometimes filled with more sugar, to start your day. Like it's never made sense to me.
I mean, I know like from growing up, sometimes like we would go out to old country Wewoka, Oklahoma, where my aunt was at, and she would sometimes make breakfast, and it was always like it was pancakes all the time. And she did her thing with them too, but it was like pancakes. Sometimes it would be French toast. So like I grew up on those, but like nowadays I'm sprinting towards waffles. French toast wise, like it's got to be decorated. Like it's got to have the strawberries, the syrup, the blueberries, all that crap on it, and then I can go in. It's Christmas.
First of all, I love Christmas, love puppies.
Oh man, well, guys, it's been a fun show. Jalen, thanks for coming on, dog. We appreciate you.
Yeah, of course, man. Y'all know I'm always down to join, man. I appreciate you guys as always. Travis, are you gonna? Well, I know you'll be here this weekend, but are you doing your show this week?
Yep, I'll be doing pregame and postgame radio from Yo Pablo. We've got a lot of recruits coming by. I think former players are coming by, all that kind of stuff. So I'll be actually on like from 1 to 2, I think. So I'm going to go to the Kyler statue and then go by, do the 1 to 2. I'm doing Baker's thing tomorrow, his no bogeys at Top Golf out there in Oklahoma City. So pop over there. And then it's funny. I was describing the spring game to my, I think it was my dad earlier when I was on the phone. I was like, the spring game kind of feels like like the day before, it kind of feels like the day before Thanksgiving. Like when you get all the family together, it's like all the young cousins like go out to the bar or like go out and like do whatever. Like it's like that's what I feel like the spring game is. Like everybody the night before is like, all right, we got the gang back together. Let's go out Friday night. Let's go to the Mont. Let's go do whatever. So looking forward to a good time in Norman. My mother, I know my dad was on here earlier. Now my mother's on here. When you have little kids, you can make bunnies and stuff with pancakes. So there's that. Well, Mother, I know much to your disappointment, no grandkids for you yet. So once I have those kids, I'll make sure and make them the appropriate shaped to like breakfast. You can cut up some strawberries or bananas and apples and other things and make animal shapes out of those too. I'm gonna get JP to send me some apples down here, and we're gonna get it popping.
Oh my! Sue, I was gonna tell you, you can vicariously live through Maya, until Travis decides he wants to have a child, settle down a little bit. So, you can always look at pictures of her, and we'll make sure we visit when we're down there. So, she out here talking up a storm. So hopefully she'll be saying boom sooner before long. But
man, we've been talking up a storm. We're at an hour and 26 minutes.
I know. That's what I'm saying. But hey, don't get crazy. Hey, we appreciate you guys again for locking in with us. I'm just gonna be real. Me and Trey are probably gonna continue to talk about. I know the last two weeks we've done Thursdays, and we've had a good showing. So we'll talk and let you guys know whether we'll be back this Wednesday. Who knows? Maybe we may decide to do next Thursday again. We'll let you know. But regardless, we'll be back here next week. We'll talk about the spring game, what everybody saw. Make sure you get to a TV if you can't get there. But if you can get there, make sure you're there. Pack the palace. We'll see y'all next week. Boomer.
Well, we might next Thursday is the draft. So maybe we do a live draft spectacular, a little live draft special.
That would actually.
I don't know. We'll talk about it. Maybe maybe we can get a former drafted player on to talk about their process while we watch it and all kind of. Who knows? Who knows? You never know with this show who might be stopping by. So, and by the way, I opened these because football said no. It was Chicken that said I needed to eat. So I opened some snack mix. Y'all see there the Pebble Beach snack mix that was in the mini bar in the room. Threw those in the bag with me. So anyways, just wanted to say I think Thursday JP and I'll talk about it. Maybe get a little draft situation going on. Who knows?
Yes, sir. All right, y'all. Peace out.
All right. Thanks, Jalen.
Yep. No problem.